We Michael has blood all over his face. It is because it's like HLP among right. So I was thinking of this as like you're thinking about the teachers for. Oh my god! And I told some with these girls, I called them my sister, my business. Remember them in the sixth grade, and they were like. Call it to order in just a second. No, it's gonna be good.
We will convene the Board of Education open session at 7:08. Before we go to the Pledge of Allegiance, give me 1 second, please. As I'm sure you're all aware, we have had a very interesting week, not only in the Monrovia Unified School District family, but our state and country over the last week. Anybody who has turned on a radio, watched a TV, listened to a podcast or anything knows that the coronavirus is up close and personal in the front of everybody. And I wanted to take just a moment before we start our meeting to let everybody in the audience know, and those at home watching, that the Monrovia Unified School District has taken this very, very seriously. Our number one goal is the protection of the people who we educate and those who do the educating. This is our priority. Our commitment to everyone in our community is to never lose sight of that focus. We have contingency plans that you're going to be hearing about, not just this evening, but as future moves on, because we have probably just now seen the tip of the iceberg for what information may look like. This is not to put fear into anybody. It's just the reality of which we find ourselves now. Some of the activities that we have normally going on in our school district will probably be postponed for a while we make sure that everybody is safe and continues on our primary mission, which is the education of the young people in our community. So while it's nice to be able to get together and do open houses or have celebrations of our successes, these will probably take a back seat for a moment until we know exactly what it is that we're looking at as far as a community. Dr. Trossian, do you have anything else to add?
Just one, Board President Hammond, members of the board, it occurred to me that during recognitions, there are a few people who I would ordinarily want to hug or shake hands, and we're going to use our words today.
Thank you so much. Just a little diversion from the normal of what it is. I wanted to do that before we started our meeting. And Dr. Z, you're here to lead us in getting a little bit normal. Let's do our flag salute.
Good evening, Monrovia. Please join me in standing for the Pledge of Allegiance. Place your right hand over your heart. Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. You may be seated.
Good evening, Monrovia Unified Board President Mr. Hammond, Board of Education members, Superintendent Dr. Trossian, Cabinet members, and Monrovia community members. There are many great programs, initiatives, activities, all kinds of good stuff, and of course learning taking place every day at Santa Fe. However, tonight I'd like to focus on 3 awesome Cougar scholars that are here with me and celebrate their accomplishments. These 3 girls represent the hopes and dreams of tomorrow and why it is that we as educators, and all of you and many of you are educators, do what we do every day at Santa Fe and the Monrovia Unified School District. They have known challenging times, they have known academic struggle, and some of us met in my office under auspicious circumstances. However, by continuing to work together, by believing in themselves and each other, they are fastly becoming leaders in their school and are definitely leading and owning their own lives and the decisions they make. These 3 students all have knowledge of a second language or are bilingual and biliterate. They now have GPAs over 3.0 and represent hundreds of points of growth on various state and local proficiency measures. This is what happens when people come together in a school district to do great things for our kids. Diana, Monica, and Brianna, who are going to tell you a little bit of their story briefly. We are happy to celebrate the three of you, and as we take a moment to give pause and be reminded of why being an educator is worth it all and how you three inspire all of us.
Good evening, Monrovia Board of Education, Superintendent Dr. Therosian, and Cabinet and Monrovia community members. My name is Brianna Dawn, and I am an 8th grader student at Santa Fe Computer Science Magnet School. The past 3 years at Santa Fe have been a bit rough. Drama, friends, grades, it was all overwhelming to me. This year, I realized that I needed to change because I wanted a better future. I was too caught up in fitting in and not caring about school. I took a long look at my grades. They weren't where they should be, but I continued to work hard. Now I am no longer a D student. I am now an A and B student, and I am passing my classes like a champ. I was happy to know that all my teachers were happy that I was doing better and caring about me and always showing their support for me. Thank you to all my teachers, especially Miss Monhe. I had a really good 2 years with her. I'd like to thank her even more for pushing me. I now look forward to Monrovia High School. Finally, I want to thank my mom and my sister for continuing to work with me and helping me to never give up. I also want to thank staff and Dr. Z and Mrs. Gare for all their hard work. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Diana De Leon, and I would like to share a little bit about my personal experience as a student from Santa Fe. My past 3 years of middle school have been outstanding. The first day I stepped foot in Santa Fe, I experienced a different world opened up to me. Throughout middle school, I have gained an insane amount of knowledge, and with a lifelong passion for math, I have developed an interest in cube roots and exponents. I would like to say thank you to my amazing principal, Dr. Zamaripa, for encouraging me to do better in school. He made me realize that giving up is never an option, and if you work hard enough, you can achieve any goal in life. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Monica Hernandez, and tonight I want to share a little thing about my time at Santa Fe Computer Magnet School. My time at Santa Fe has brought many obstacles and many awards. During my 6th grade year, I found myself failing my classes, but Dr. Z and the whole Santa Fe staff did not give up on me. They always told me to keep on going because of what I was able to keep on going, and because of that, I was able to improve during my 7th grade year. My 7th grade year made me realize that I could do better and achieve great things. Miss Smith was a great inspiration, and because of her, I was able to meet my SBAC goals. In my 8th grade year, I was blessed with incredible teachers who continued to encourage me to reach my goals. Ms. Grande always pushed me to do better, and Ms. Wiley always told me to keep on going. And because of them and all my teachers, I know I will be able to succeed at whatever I put my mind to it, because I was given the skills I needed to reach my goals at Santa Fe. I am very thankful for the hard work of my teachers. Thank you.
You have certificates right here for the three of you. Diana. Brianna. And Monica.
I'd like to give them one more round of applause. To come into a room full of strangers and tell your story is an incredibly brave thing to do. And I could not be more proud of 3 people than you guys. Congratulations, and thank you for sharing that. It's really important. Thank you. Our roll call, Mr. Gillinan is excused. We had a closed session and we took no reportable action. Is there any change to the order of business?
Yes, President Hammond, we'll be moving up the information item regarding National Census Day provided by Ashton Gout, and that will follow the approval of the minutes.
Okay. With that, I'll entertain a motion for the approval of minutes. You want to take 2 and 3 as one motion?
Can we do that?
Yes.
Sure, yes. I will so move with 2 and 3 as one motion.
Second.
Motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Will you please have a vote?
Board Member Lockerbie?
Yes.
Board Member Travanti?
Yes.
Board Member Wong? Yes. Board President Hammond?
Yes.
Motion carries 4-0.
Dr. Tarosian?
We have with us a very special guest. Ashton, are you here? Where are you? There you are. Ashton Gout from the city of Monrovia is going to tell us a little bit more about the 2020 census and why we need to make sure that everybody participates.
Thank you. All right. So thank you, Board Member Hammond and members of the board, for inviting me today to talk about the upcoming 2020 census here in Monrovia. First, I want to just note that there are promotional giveaways in the lobby, so please feel free to help yourself on the way out. And as Superintendent Throsian said, my name is Ashton Gout. I work in the city clerk's office here for the city of Monrovia. If you pay your water bill, you'll pass me, so if you want to come say hi, I always have candy. So we'll go ahead and get started about the upcoming 2020 census. All right. So what is the census? So a fun fact, the first census was done back in 1790. So every 10 years, the census records everyone living in this country. It's written in our Constitution, and April 1st is National Census Day. That is when the census will count everyone living at your address that day. The data is used to fund services such as medical assistance programs, school nutrition programs, our community development block grants, foster care, and so much more. So who is required to respond? So everyone living in the United States on April 1st is required by law to participate in the upcoming 2020 census. The Census Bureau is also required to protect your answers, again, by law. These answers to the census can only be used to produce statistics. Anyone who does not respond by May is considered non-responsive. So ways to respond to the 2020 census. You have 3 different ways to respond. Traditionally, it was by phone or by mail. Now they're launching an online census questionnaire, so you'll actually be able to provide it through your smartphone or a computer. By mid-March, most likely starting next week, households will begin receiving this official Census Bureau mail, which will have detailed information of how you can respond to the census. So since the online questionnaire is brand new, just to give you a little bit of ideas how to navigate, the Census Bureau will be sending mailers, as I mentioned, to encourage everyone to participate in the upcoming census online. It is going to be the big push to push this online with a unique household ID number. So your mailer will actually have a specific ID number that you can input onto the online forum. So if a household does not complete the census online, they'll then again receive a second reminder, which will provide a paper questionnaire. This is in fact to make sure that we don't eliminate people who might not have internet access, that they're going to still be able to complete the census. So what will the census ask me? So one is how many people are living in your home on April 1st. I'm going to re-emphasize April 1st is the big day. So they don't necessarily mind what other days, it's only April 1st that they're caring about. So the goal of the 2020 census is to count everyone just once and in the right place. So once again, April 1st. They're going to ask you if this home is a house or an apartment, maybe a mobile home. This is really helpful for statisticals on owners versus renters. What's your telephone number? This is requested in case there's questions about your questionnaire so that they can contact you directly rather than coming to your doors. What is the person one? So maybe the first head of household or the owner of the home. What's their name, their sex, their age, and their race? And then you'll complete this form for as many people reside in your home. Don't forget to count your infants, children, or elderly. If your infant is born April 1st, well, you're counting your infant who is born April 1st. So something I want to remind people is what the census won't ask you. They're not going to ask for your social security number, money or donations, anything on behalf of your political party, your bank or credit card accounts numbers. So something that came up in the Supreme Court in June of 2019 was the Trump administration cannot include a question about citizenship on the 2020 census, and it was removed from the questionnaire. So what does this mean for Monrovia? Oh, maybe I did it wrong. Thank you, Shoshana.
That you count. It's about fair representation, redistricting, and how $675 billion in federal funding is distributed. Did you know, for each person not counted, vital programs in our state, county, and community lose roughly $2,000 in funding? Help shape the future of Monrovia by responding to the 2020 census. You can respond to the census online, by phone, or by mail. It's easy, safe, and important. Make sure you and everyone you know is counted. I count, you count. Let's make sure Monrovia counts. Visit cityofmonrovia.org/Monrovia Counts 2020.
It won't let me pass. There we go. Thank you. All right, so as our video said, for every person not counted in the upcoming 2020 census, California will lose roughly $19,500 in federal funding over the next 10 years. Just to reemphasize, that's for every person. So if 10 people don't count, it's $19,500 per person over the next 10 years. Just to give you an idea, in 2016, California received an estimated about $115 billion in federal funding tied to the state's population, aka the Census 2010. So hypothetically, like mentioned, if we undercount 100 people in Monrovia, that equates to about $1 million lost in federal funding. Thank you for catching that typo in mine. All right, so partnership with LA County. So the city of Monrovia was offered a partnership with the County of Los Angeles to receive funding to promote participation in the upcoming 2020 census. The state's campaign is to focus on outreach efforts on both the geographical areas and demographical populations, commonly referred to as our hard to count areas. Based on its hard-to-count populations here in Monrovia, we received $18,705 in census funding. So our outreach, given that the City Council's commitment to a complete count here within Monrovia, staff will utilize current operations to add educational and promotional materials for the upcoming 2020 census. So if you're a subscriber to our city manager's weekly update, those have been coming out since last year for the census, along with all of the water bill inserts for the upcoming cycles. We also did February, but we also did March. So all of your guys' March bills will also have an insert for the upcoming census, social media, and of course our Monrovia Today magazine. So our outreach plan, we went to all of these community meetings and held presentations in February. So we wanted to make sure that we went out to not only our boards and commissions here with the City of Monrovia, but also to the service clubs as well as here at the Monrovia Unified School District. So something really unique to Monrovia is we are going to be a questionnaire action kiosk location with our public library. This is going to allow people the opportunity to utilize our resources with our computers to complete the census online. These computers will be strictly for the census for the next couple months. It'll be open until May of 2020, and we're going to be launching our computers within the next 2 weeks. So what can you do? You can tell your friends and family to complete the upcoming 2020 census for their respective communities. Once again, it's very important that the community they reside in is the community that they respond for. Reassure neighbors that the 2020 census can only be used for statistical purposes. Just to re-reference, the citizenship question will not be on the 2020 census. And to stay up to date on any news related to the census and by visiting the City of Monrovia's webpage, and to watch for weekly updates on our city managers weekly. And of course, complete the 2020 census. I'm here to answer any questions that you may have.
Yes, hi, I have a question. Can you speak to the different languages that are available for the census?
Yes,
Thank
so the languages that are going to be available online by phone and by mail will have 13. By phone is the best because they'll have all 13 languages which are required, as well as other additional languages that I don't know off the top of my head, but there is a numerous amounts on the phone. If you need the mailers will come in English and Spanish. If you need any additional languages, they do have a phone number for you to call. Another thing is if you're registered to vote and you have a language preference, you'll get your mailer in that language preference. So it should coincide with the mailings that you're used to getting from counties.
I have a question. So if you have adults that are away at school or in the service, but your house is their main address, do you include them in your count?
No. They are not considered living in your address on April 1st, so they would complete the census. If, for instance, I have a daughter who works up in UC Davis. She's a sophomore there in a dorm. The dorm will count her in Davis. I won't count her in my home because on April 1st she sleeps in Davis.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
What if you have a newborn in the hospital?
So the hospitals are also counting those that reside in the hospital, like the NICUs and the ICUs, because on April 1st, you are not in your home, you would be counted with the hospital. It's very important that basically wherever you slept that night is where you're counted, especially for the hospitals, as well as the homeless counts. So those that will be, that are considered experiencing homelessness will be counted through the U.S. Census Bureau for the 3 days leading up to National Census Day, because wherever they reside is where we need to make sure they're counted.
Any other questions? Thank you so much. I appreciate you coming.
Thank you for having me.
Now we get to recognize some really special people who work here in our district. And up first is the folks from Bright Oaks, and Janie's coming up to introduce to us the superstars at Bright Oaks.
Thank you. Renee and Aaron, why don't you come and join me? Good evening, Board President Hammond, board members, Superintendent Dr. Trosian, and Cabinet. I'm going to introduce and talk about Renee Dakin first. So step up here a little bit. Don't be shy. You're not too shy.
No, I'm not shy.
I know. All right. So 10 years ago, Renee Dakin received the same recognition, and I'd like to share with you how remarkable it is and was for me to see the consistency and how Renee approaches life. And I'm going to share with you just a little excerpt from what was said. She was selected by Braddock staff for her dedication and generosity. Renee gives hours of unpaid time to our school and our students. She is willing to fulfill the requests of teachers with a smile. She oversees our supplies and materials. And Renee will employ the strengths of her entire family to support our school, whether it be repairing pencil sharpeners or preparing materials for students. It is truly a pleasure and honor to have such a dedicated and valued employee on board at Braddock's. Renee Dakin rocks. I like that part. Well, this was said of Renee 10 years ago, and Renee still rocks. It is nearly 40 years of service now, and this still holds true, every bit of it. To this day, Renee continues to work tirelessly for the good of the school and students. She is rarely missing from our school, and when she is, everybody notices. We are struggling with the knowledge that Renee is looking at the possible retirement. I said possible right there.
No, that's it.
All right. To spend time with her husband and her family. She speaks often of coming to volunteer.
Yes, I am too.
All right. We're going to hold you to that. And we'll be grateful and fortunate for that promise. Ms. Dakin, thank you for all that you do. You are a godsend. Uh-huh. And I believe this one is yours too.
Thank you.
Wait. Excuse me.
Thank you. Oh, one of these two? Oh, thank you. Wow.
I know. Wait, there's more. Now I get the pleasure of talking about Miss Erin Dickinson.
Okay, your turn.
Yeah. All right. Hi. Back in the mid-1990s, Mrs. Dickinson was a fourth grade teacher at Braddock's, and after teaching several years, she chose to stay home and raise her daughters with options of subbing, and boy, are we glad she did. She was a very popular sub here in Monrovia, and we were blessed when she chose to stay at our school in a job share position with Susan Robiou 2 years ago, and that's when I came aboard and had the pleasure of getting to know Erin. As she enthusiastically began this school year and welcomed her fifth graders, she was handed a huge blow when her health became in jeopardy. Her grace to face the challenges and the drive to turn her obstacles into lessons has shown her to be a true class of courage and strength. I can't even talk more than that. She has been so strong throughout this and courageous, and with her humor. The best way I can describe Erin's classroom is that it's a family. She has created an environment full of warmth and respect, high expectations, pride, compassion, and humor. You can't forget the humor. She has a great sense of humor. If you don't know Erin, you need to get to know her, and she will make you laugh when you don't even want to laugh. Her students are proof of her dedication and spirit for learning. She has perseverance and dedication, and it shines through all circumstances. Erin is an enthusiastic team player and one of the first people to say, "I'll do it," when a need arises. Nothing seems too big or small for her. Erin's infectious desire to do good and have fun while doing the task at hand brings light to any room. Her colleagues join us in overwhelming agreement that Erin deserves acknowledgement of her strength and dedication with this prestigious award. Congratulations. Thank you for being you.
Do them all together? Yeah, well, we're going to do everybody all together. Yeah, Kevin, just hold on for just a second. And our next principal, who's going to be introducing us to some rock stars, happened to be from Wild Rose, and Penny is here. And Penny puts the E in enthusiasm.
It is my distinct honor and pleasure tonight to honor these two wonderful young ladies. They're both young. They're young like I am. Young ladies in this wonderful event. I've never been here. I've been here in this district for 6 years, but this is the first time I've ever been to this event. So I just heard that you got to give a speech. I'm like, wait a minute. I thought they were supposed to give the speech. So we told them today they had to give the speech, but we changed that. So this is just such a pleasure. The first one is Maria de la O. Step up, darling. I love this one. She is a campus assistant, and she does lots of things on our campuses, on our campus that help the kids, keep them safe and keep them happy. And what I did was, first of all, I asked the staff, what do you think about Maria de la O? And I got some really cool things. So I just put the letters down, M-A-R-I-A, and this is what they said. M, marvelous. A, awesome. R, role model. I, intelligent. That's so cool, huh? Yeah. And the best one that almost every staff member said when I asked them was always there for us. A. Now, then I asked the kids. This is where it really got good. Okay, this is what the kids, that's what the staff said. Now this is what the kids said. She is nice, cool. She smiles a lot. She loves us. She doesn't yell. And you're not mean.
Yes.
Okay, so that is Maria de la O. What an honor and a privilege to give you this award tonight as Employee of the Year for Wild Rose. So, and this is Chamber of Commerce and the Board of Education. Okay, so there you go on that one. Okay, so you take those two. Now, Giovanna, it's your turn. Oh, wait a minute, you get a swag bag too.
It's from the chamber.
This is from who? That's from Darvin?
No.
Oh, no. Just checking.
It's from the Chamber of Commerce.
Oh, the Chamber of Commerce. Cool. Could be diamonds. You never can't tell in the Chamber of Commerce.
Penny, can I interject?
Yeah.
We have Sari Canales. She's one of our community partners. Where is she? Is she out there? Okay.
Cool.
She's representing the Chamber of Commerce, so I just wanted, I'd be remiss if we didn't recognize her in the Chamber for our swag bag and tokens of appreciation.
Swag bag. Now, this young lady, you know, most of you know, I got this gig just right before school started. And I went to Wild Rose to meet the staff. And this young woman right here goes, Mrs. Fermini, Mrs. Fermini. And I went, wait, Giovanna, what are you doing here? She said, I'm teaching here. She was my student in another district where I was principal. And then tonight I meet her sister, who was also a student with me, and her parents, who loved me to pieces. So this is my former student. But this one is just wonderful. And I want to say, the flowers are just as beautiful as these two young ladies. They're just wonderful. So this is what the staff said about Giovanna. Okay, G, good. A good heart is what they said. E, enthusiastic. And she is. O, an outrageous smile. V, vivacious. A, awesome. Interesting, the staff used those two words for both ladies, and I agree. N, nice. She's so darn nice, it's scary. Always has new ideas. N, new ideas. And A, always there for her kids, which I thought was so cool. Now, this is what the kids said about you. Now, she teaches TK, so these 4-year-olds, so just keep that in mind, okay? I like her. I said, what do you like about your teacher? They're looking at me like, you had to be, But this was what they said. They like her smile. They like her clothes. They like her hair. These are 4-year-olds. They love her glasses. But the coolest one was a little guy that I've seen quite a bit this year, actually. He said, she loves me. So for these two phenomenal employees of the year for Wild Rose, I just think you're fabulous. This staff over here, I want them to stand because we're here for you. And this is what we have to say for you. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Knowledge is power, and you've got the power. Congratulations. And you don't have to give a speech.
Yeah, Penny's going to be here all week, so it's this is the first show. It's always one of my favorite things to do is to meet the wonderful folks that work in our district that are fulfilling that mission of making sure that our kids have the best experience possible in the classroom. These are just 4 examples of people who help make our district the best it can be. Up next, this is a really cool recognition. We have a member of our staff who has another life, and in the other life, Major Ken Singleton is in the U.S. Army. He also works in our food service as a director. He has been serving our country now for a little over a year outside the country on orders, and his tour of duty was extended. And there's been a lot of people in his office that have to pick up the slack to do it. So when one person is serving, there are many people who are helping to support that service. The thing to realize is that your employer cannot do anything with your job when you are serving in the capacity of when you're on orders. Ken will be gone for he's over a year now, and it'll be an extended leave for possibly another it's coming up. It's like another 9 or 10 months? Yeah. Another 9 or 10 months. There is an award that's put out by the United States Department of Defense Employer Support of the Guard and Reserve. And here tonight we have Mr. Gordon Crane, who will be making a presentation on behalf of that organization to Dr. Terosian. Mr. Crane.
It's a lot of tough acts to follow. Thank you for this opportunity to present a Patriot Award to a very deserving individual. My name is Gordon Crane, and I'm a volunteer with ESGR. ESGR stands for Employer Support of the Guard and Reserve. In 1972, the Department of Defense established this agency to promote and maintain good relations between employers and the soldiers and officers that work there. And the Patriot Award is one of many ways in which the Department of Defense says thank you. Thank you for hiring our soldiers, and thank you for supporting our soldiers. Now, in this particular case, Ken Singleton, who is a major in the United States Army Reserves and also the Director of Food Services at Monrovia Unified School District, thank you for keeping that on the screen, he's wearing two hats, and as you aptly noted, he's got a complicated life. And this award really recognizes the support that he's been given by his immediate supervisor. He is on deployment. I didn't even know that he was going to be gone for an additional 10 months. But he wanted to make sure that this award was ready to be given and presented as soon as possible. So in his absence, I am here, and I'll be presenting the award. Ever since the founding of our country, Americans have put their lives on hold to fight for our freedoms and to protect our fellow citizens. Today, over 1 million Americans serve in the National Guard and the Reserves. And today, 48% of our entire military force serving at home and abroad come from the National Guard and the Reserves. Almost half of our military right now comes from the Guard and the Reserves. This percentage has never been this high in our country's history. And that's why today, more than ever before, it's so important to provide this support for our soldiers and officers. These soldiers train year-round to be mission ready for assignments at home and abroad. At home, they provide relief. They participate in rescue operations in flooded areas due to hurricanes, tornadoes. This past summer, we saw what Hurricane Dorian did to our eastern seaboard. The Guard and the Reserves were there. On a yearly basis, they're deployed to our western United States to help fight forest fires. Right now, some are at our southern border, backing up ICE and our border patrol. But most importantly, they're involved in combat operations around the globe. Djibouti, Iraq, Kuwait, Jordan, Cuba, Afghanistan, and many others. Balancing the demands of military life with the demands of civilian life is quite challenging. And this is probably the most important point of my presentation. Employers that understand this difficult balance and the critical role the Guard and Reserve have in our country's defense and hire and support these soldiers make an invaluable contribution to our all-volunteer force. The Department of Defense understands that supporting these soldiers is not easy. And that's why tonight, the Department of Defense, in recognition of her support, is awarding the Patriot Award to Dr. Catherine Terosian.
Charles, you want to take a picture of that? Yeah, we could go. Yeah, we could go around and let's see. Yeah. No, you got. Yeah. We're supporting.
Yeah, we're supporting. Right. I'm just backing away, so I'm not in the background.
Charles is taking your picture. Oh. Thank you very much for being here, Mr. Gordon. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Before we move on, I do want to say that I accept this on behalf of the very many people who are really filling in the gaps while Ken isn't here, and I certainly would have preferred, no offense, Ken here, because he's part of our team and we do miss him, but we also so appreciate his service, and thank you for joining us this evening and providing the recognition for what the team has done in order to help our schools and our food service department serve our students in Ken's absence. So thank you.
Up next, we have board reports and Mrs. Lockerbie.
Thank you, Board President Hammond. Well, Monrovia High School has been the home of scholars and champions for over 125 years. And I wanted to take this opportunity to thank Principal McGinnis for rearranging and redoing the trophy case in the foyer of the auditorium to reflect all of the champions of years past. It's important for us to remember and celebrate our history as we also celebrate our present scholars and look toward our successful future. So he has created this. It's the as you enter straight into the foyer, it's the first one there. So it's very prominent, and it displays all of our scholars. I think this one right here, you can see it says 1946. There's a trophy in there that's from 1911. So I just wanted to take the opportunity to thank the principal for bringing the past to the present and into the future.
Very cool. Do we have a student board member report? Oh, we do.
Hello.
Hello.
So, coming to Monrovia this month of March. So this week
Giselle, would you get closer to that?
Yes.
Perfect.
So this week is Togetherness Week at Monrovia High School, and the clubs and organizations are participating in club sales on Tuesday and tomorrow on Thursday. We have Spirit Dress Days this week. Monday was Hawaiian wear. Today was workout wear. And Friday is Twin Day, twinning with your teachers as well. And then Renaissance tomorrow is presenting the 15th annual Mr. Monrovia competition. Everyone is invited. It's $5, and you'll get to see who would be Monrovia's most wanted. Spring sports entered Rio Hondo League play this week in all of our sports, including boys volleyball, baseball, softball, boys tennis, swimming, and track and field. MHS Drama is proud to present the 25th annual Putnam County Spelling Bee on Thursday, March 26th, Friday, March 27th, and Saturday, March 28th. Tickets can be purchased at brownpapertickets.com. On February 22nd, all 6 MHS robotics teams competed for their interleague championship based on the results of the interleagues. 3 of Monrovia High School's 6 robotics teams advanced to the LAFTC Regional Championships. The Kings and Queens, the Soup-Bots, were on the winning alliance, and Team Loki was on the second place alliance. On March 7th, the regional championships brought the 48 of the best high school age robotics teams from the LA region to MHS to vie for spots at the World Championship. The Kings and Queens and Supebox made it to their division finals, where they lost extremely close and had fought hard for the matches. Good, but not quite good enough to advance to the Worlds. Monrovia High School has 6 robotics teams which met after school to design, build, and program competition bots. These teams are Team Reboot, Kings and Queens, Supebox, Team Loki, Spectrum, and Graveyard Shifts. There are over 50 students in MHS robotics program. In addition to competing, the programs also host multiple robotics tournaments and events. The LA Regional Championships has been held at Monrovia High School for the past 9 years. That's all from Monrovia High School.
Thank you very much. I'd like to tell you folks, if you have never, do yourself a favor and go see a robotics competition. It is as exciting as any sporting event you'll ever gone to, except they don't have peanuts. It is incredible. For the first time, I got to see the culmination of a very, very long day of competition, and it was seriously intense. There is so much enthusiasm in the room that it's incredible. It's just incredible. The number of people, the adults that are in giving of their time, volunteering to do this is absolutely incredible, because none of our robotics programs are curriculum. These are all clubs on our campus. And so I really got to hand it and thank every one of the advisors for what it is they do for our students. As she said, 9 years we've been hosting this. And do yourself a favor, when we're going to have it again, go out and do it. It is a very, very enjoyable afternoon. Dr. Tarosian, do you have a report?
Yes, President Hammond, members of the board, I'd like to invite parents to join us on Tuesday evening at 5:30 in the boardroom right here. Parent Access to Healing Support. This is a support group for parents only, and it is really the brainchild of Leanna Becerra and our special ed department. So I want to thank them for developing some creative ways to reach out and find parental support for one another. Also, we have a competition, an online competition through social media about the 2020 census, and we'll send that information out to our schools to share it with students. That concludes my report.
Thank you. Up next is public comment period. If you'd like to speak to the board on any item that is not on the agenda, simply fill out a speaker card and you shall be heard. Do we have any speaker cards? Anyone in the audience wishing to speak to the board on any item that is not on the agenda? Seeing and hearing none, we'll close that portion. We'll take up the matter of people who wish to address the board items that are on the agenda. Do we have any speaker cards?
There are none.
Would anybody wish to speak to the board on any item that is on the agenda? Seeing and hearing none, we will move on. First, we have an informational report from Dr. Tarosian on the coronavirus update. I'm sorry, I've been saying it so many. It's COVID-19 is what I've been saying so much lately. Thank you.
Thank you, President Hammond, members of the board, cabinet audience. This is just a brief update about some of the activities that we have had in some of our response to this pandemic. And I want to begin by saying that every decision that's been made is a reflection of the core values of the board and the staff of Monrovia Unified. Safety of students and staff above all else. So when we have to make a decision, it really has to be what is best for students and staff. The health and safety of our people come first. And we want to make sure to provide education, information, and that comes from the experts, not us, from the from the Centers of Disease Control, California Department of Public Health, the LA County Office of Education, and Occupational Safety and Health Administration. We want to make sure that our frontline people are also safe and are provided with the resources and information they need in order to remain so. And the practices that we implement is based upon the guidance and recommendations from these agencies, as well as many more. What is it? I think we've all been hearing about it, and I am certainly no expert in the coronavirus, so I will defer to the experts with the information that we've provided through the Centers for Disease Control and the Los Angeles County Department of Public Health provided this one. It's on our website. We understand that it is new, the novel coronavirus, and that we are still learning things about it. So how it seems to be transmitting very quickly, and the numbers in our community, in our county, in our state, in our country continue to grow exponentially, which means we are still learning how to manage it, and we are taking every precaution we can in order to make sure that we are able to mitigate its spread. And we've all been told about the symptoms, and this is one of the precautions that we've taken, is by asking our people, and including our students, to please, if you're not feeling well, while attendance is important, please stay home. Get better. Your health is certainly far more important than anything else. And so we have focused on those preventative steps that we've been advised to communicate to our community, to our students, to our faculty, and to really the broader Monrovia community. Prevention, hygiene is really the first defense against the spread of any virus or germ. These are simply also good tips in general, not just when trying to defend against a pandemic. I won't read off the list of organizations or individuals with whom we've consulted directly, but know that every time there's a difficult decision to make, we rely upon the experts to provide us with the guidance that they have, and have asked for their resources in order to help coordinate our own efforts and disseminate the information. So our measures have really been to make sure that any suspicion of COVID-19, any suspicion of exposure is excluded, anybody exposed is excluded, and any any sign of that is communicated widely. We also want to make sure to partner with our organizations who serve students and make sure that they, when they come to our schools, practice the same kinds of preventative measures that we do. And so just as we cover our coughs with a tissue and wash hands more frequently and stop shaking hands and hugging, and just the prevention of that person-to-person spread, which seems to be the main way through which the virus is spread, is minimized. That risk is minimized in that manner. And so we do encourage students and staff members to stay home. Anyone wanting to visit our schools should be well. Please don't, if you have an appointment and are not feeling well, please call and we can reschedule. Nothing is as important as making sure that everybody remains well and that our schools remain the safest place to be for our students. Now, if a student, a teacher, a staff member were to test positive for COVID-19, we would be working in consultation with the local public health department, the LA County Health Department, in order to determine whether or not the closure of the school is warranted. This is information that no school official would take individually or without the consultation of the experts, whose sole purpose it is to minimize exposure and to make sure that everyone remains safe and healthy. So we rely on our medical experts. We are also working on developing plans for the continuity of education, medical services, meal services, finding alternate mechanisms for which or with which to continue all services for our students were a school to close. And we would also, of course, maintain regular communication with local public health departments to identify when we would be able to reopen. One of the things that we have learned is that we need a more effective vehicle for communication with families. And we're actively exploring some options right now. We want to make sure to develop a sustainable response system for disinfecting our schools and offices, and while keeping our own people safe. And we are working on an emergency teaching and learning system so that there is a continuity of learning in case of any disruption. And that also includes self-isolation or just absences. So we'll be working closely with our administrators and our teaching staff to make sure that whatever robust system we can develop, it would be really with the collective. We will keep sending information out, bulletins out, both to our community, to our staff members, and posting that information on our website, on our Facebook page, and as information about new communication vehicles or the emergency teaching and learning system are developed further, they will be communicated immediately, as will any update that we receive from the Department of Public Health. I'm sorry, I keep
No, go ahead.
going, but every time I think about the COVID-19, I know it's frustrating to keep getting emails from us saying, here's more information and remember to wash your hands or use those preventative measures. One of the things that we keep learning is that it is a constantly evolving situation. It is such a dynamic thing that we don't know what will happen from one day to the next, and neither do we control some of those decisions about school closures or dismissals. And so the best thing we can do is continue to use the measures that we do have and coordinate with the City of Monrovia and our partner organizations to make sure that we keep everybody healthy and informed about our next steps, and maybe in making sure to ensure that every decision is based upon what is in the best interest of others.
I think some of the questions that the community as a whole would probably be most interested in are the big picture things, such as what exactly has to occur for a school to close and how does that look? What happens, or how do we find out about students or faculty or parents that may be infected and may be quarantined, and what does that look like? What ability does the school or the district have to ask people to stay home? So in the bigger picture, I think most parents are concerned about not only the basic stuff, but the big picture stuff on sending their kids to school. And what do they do if they suspect something is going on? There's so much conflicting, I don't want to say conflicting information, but confusing information, that the difference between having a flu and a cough versus thinking that they've actually been exposed. I mean, we don't want to create a panic in which a person wakes up and sneezes and then parents say, no, you're not going to go to school, right? So where is that line in which we want parents to keep their kids home and send them to school? Because at the same time, we want all of the parents to know that we take this very seriously. So if a teacher was to see a student that exhibited some of these things, what is their procedure? Sorry, that was a lot of questions.
I'll try to answer them as I recall them. So first, when there is a risk of exposure, anytime there's a risk of exposure, we would communicate directly with those involved. And that is probably best evidenced by what we thought was exposure at Clifton Middle School last week. It turns out there was never any exposure. However, we communicated directly with those staff members who might have come into contact, and we communicated with the larger school community as well as the entire Monrovia community. We also responded by having an outside organization come in and disinfect all of our rooms to make sure that school really was ready for students and that we were never taking any chances with the health and safety of our students. Now, the fact that we learned that there had never been any exposure before the time that the team had come at 9 o'clock and worked throughout the evening to disinfect the school, we did not cancel that. We'd arranged for it as it is part of our response, and we would do that at any school if we were to think that there was any risk of exposure. If Board Vice President Wong, if you were to cough right here, and I'm not sure I would send you home. However, if you are exhibiting symptoms of a flu or cold, we're asking you to stay home, and we would actually ask teachers to send them to the health office to be assessed and separate them from others. That's also true for staff members. We don't want to take any chances, and I am not an expert in health. I would defer to those on our campuses who are, and they would help assess whether or not it's safe for that student or staff member to remain. But we would also first separate them before making any decision or determination. Was there anything else?
Oh, I think this is going to be an ongoing discussion for quite a while on what we do, and I'm sure that the policies and procedures are going to evolve as we learn more about this particular virus. You know, but since things are at a manic level now, I think it's good to make sure that we react but don't overreact. And it's important for people to know that we did not have any confirmed cases, that everything we've done has just been out of an abundance of caution. I know that we're looking at another policy for people who are going to outside groups using our facilities, so it won't be transmitted in from those sources either. But at the same time, I just want people to feel comfortable that we've thought about a great number of scenarios, in that we've consulted all the professionals as to how to do these things. We're educators, not health professionals. So we're relying on their direction. The more they learn, the more that their directions are going to change. And as they change, we're going to do everything in our power to communicate that information out to all parties.
Communication. I want to stress that we found that when we were sending out information to people last week, that there was a gap in our ability to reach as many people as we would like to. So in very short order, we will be taking steps to close that gap so that we are able to reach the maximum number of people possible. It is critical that folks have information. I would encourage anybody who would like to have more information to go to the district website. It's www.monroviaschools.net. Everything that we put out in public, I think so far we've put 7 different communications out. They're all there. They're on the front page. They're easy to get to. Everything that we know is being posted in real time. And it's going out as we get the information. Again, not to scare people, just to give you the information that you deserve as a parent to know how we're handling what's happening here. And it's also for our employees, so they understand what's happening too. We're just in a little bit different place than we were a week ago Wednesday. So we're going to learn what this environment looks like as we go forward. But I would encourage people to go to our website and look at that. And our commitment to you as the board is to treat this like we do everything else, with sensitivity and with conviction, and making sure that you folks know that our primary goal is to make sure that the health and safety of the people that we are in charge of are safe and secure. We will not take a risk with somebody's health. We're not going to do it. And I cannot emphasize that enough. Our goal is to make sure everybody here is safe to the best of our ability, and that's what we'll do.
Mr. Hammond, I just wanted to piggyback what you said about the website, all the information being on there. If you look at the bottom of the website, if you need it translated into a different language, and I just tested this this morning, there's Google Translate at the bottom, and you can plug in Spanish, and it will translate all the information into Spanish. So we do have a high number of population here in the city, parents that are Spanish speakers or otherwise. So do know that that's available on our website as well.
Good point.
Mr. Wong reiterated what Dr. Thorosian's presentation said several times, and I just wanted to re-emphasize that all of the actions that you are taking from the advice from other agencies, the CDC, the LA County Office of Health. And so I just want to, again, emphasize that everything that we are doing and the ways that we are proceeding, it is through guidance from the experts.
And that includes the information that we send out, we take from those agencies. We do not purport to be health experts. I will say, though, there were two other questions I remembered Mr. Wong had mentioned. Who do we exclude? Part of the guidance from the Department of Public Health was to exclude those coming from countries that had been listed as through the CDC as having travel advisories, and we've asked anybody coming from there to be excluded for 14 days as part of that incubation period from the moment they land in the United States. That's, again, being part of our response to ensuring that we are not taking risks. So the final thing I'd like to say is, how do you know it's safe? If our schools are open, it's safe. If our schools are open, there is no information that we have, that I have, that would suggest that there is a level of risk, because we would simply not take it.
With that, we'll move on and take up the matter of the consent calendar. Entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? May we please have a vote?
Board Member Travanti?
Yes.
Board Member Wong?
Yes.
Board Member Lockerbie?
Yes.
Board President Hammond?
Yes.
Motion carries 4-0.
Up first, Playground Improvement Project from Ms. Wu.
Yes, Mr. Hammond, Board President, I would like to invite Mr. Martinez, our MOD Director, to present the facility project agenda.
Well, good evening, Board President Hammond, board members, Cabinet, Dr. Torosian, and community members. So I'm here to ask the Board of Education, it's being requested to ratify the purchase of playground equipment and approve the playground improvement project at Mayflower. That schedule to start, if it's approved, during our spring break. And that has a cost of a little bit over $50,000.
And just as a reminder, much of that money was raised by the Mayflower PTA, and so this project really capitalizes on this opportunity to take advantage of this this donation by the Mayflower PTA for those shades.
Any questions of Fernando? Entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Motion is second. Any discussion? Maybe please have a vote.
Board Member Wong?
Yes.
Board Member Lockerbie?
Yes.
Board Member Travanti?
Yes.
Board President Hammond?
Yes.
Motion carries 4-0.
Oh, Fernando, you're going to be here for a minute. Maybe please have a report about the asphalt replacement.
Yes, so the board is also requested to approve the project and award the contract to Mission Paving in the amount of $39,500 plus an additional payment and a performance bond for Santa Fe. That's also scheduled to be done during spring break.
And I'm just going to ask you, you've done all your due diligence on this company. Have we worked with them in the past?
We have. We
and
have.
Their work has always been satisfactory?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. Any other questions? Entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Motion is second. Is there any discussion? Maybe please have a vote.
Board Member Lockerbie?
Yes.
Board Member Travanti?
Yes.
Board Member Wong?
Yes.
Board President Hammond?
Yes.
Motion carries 4-0.
Thank you. I won't be doing the second interim report, right?
If you want, you can.
You can. You can if you want to. I'm sure Connie will give it up.
I did just want to mention before this that the projects that we have just approved, Ms. Wu and Mr. Martinez prioritize the needs of all of the schools, and safety is our number one concern. So when it's a project of this scale, they need to do it at a time when students aren't on the campus. So I wanted to let the community know that they have been very thoughtful and very diligent about assessing the needs of each of the campuses and scheduling these projects at a time when the students are not there, to make sure that it gets done and it gets done as safely as possible. So thank you for going through that.
Thank you.
And before you get off the podium, I need to let the community know, it was last Wednesday evening. It was late in the evening, in the afternoon, we got the information about the alleged exposure. And you went right to work. You found a company, Chempac, to come and do the disinfectant at Clifton. And I'm sure that's not in the job description. It comes under something as other duties as assigned. And I want to thank you, because you were able to find a company. It helped put a lot of people at ease the next morning that we were able to do that. And that is the direct result of your hard work and dedication to this organization. And I thank you.
Well, thank you. Thank you for acknowledging that. And that is one of my priorities, to provide the best service available within our abilities. And number one is safety for our students, our communities, our staff as well. And, you know, I keep my staff very well informed based on the information that's provided through Dr. Trorosian. And that's just my job.
Thank you.
I have a...
Okay, Ms. Wu, we're going to go for a second interim report.
Oh, you guys want to switch it? He has another project, so we can
sorry.
release him.
I just...
So this would be a change in the order of the agenda.
I see that.
I see that now and should have recognized that earlier. If the board would be so inclined, we'd like to move the Clifton Auditorium.
I can see that. We're going to go for number 4 in place of number 3, and we're there.
Thank you. So the wheelchair lift over at Clifton Auditorium has been out of commission. The company, the original company that built that equipment, it's no longer in business. It has not been in business for a very long time. So I tried every resource available to minimize the cost, but at the same time being compliant with the ADA regulations. So I look at every option. Building a ramp, which would require probably a 50-foot ramp, it was just not cost effective. So at the end, we got a notice of compliance from the Department of Industrial Relations, and basically ordering us to do something about that. So, which I did. So I am requesting for the Board of Education to approve the replacement of the wheelchair lift located at the school I mentioned, Clifton, at a cost of $34,500 plus a payment and performance bond.
And again, you have we worked with this company before?
I worked at other districts. I requested a quote from a company that we do business with. It came in hired. I did reference checks on this company. They've been around for a very, very long time. It is my understanding that we used to do business with them before my time here. They were already an approved vendor. So yes, I did the background check. I have not worked with them here, but
we've done our due diligence.
Yes, we did.
Okay.
Yes, we did.
Mr. Martinez, can you describe where this wheelchair lift is? I have a visual of the auditorium and the stage, but I don't know where that is. Can you?
As you're facing the stage, it's going to be on your right-hand side.
Right-hand side, okay.
It's that piece of equipment that's been laying there, just doing nothing.
Right,
okay.
left.
All right, and the sole purpose is to lift someone that's wheelchair bound onto the stage.
That is correct.
To be able to participate in whatever activity is going on there.
That is correct.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. Is there any more discussion? May we please have a vote?
Board Member Travanti?
Yes.
Board Member Wong?
Yes.
Board Member Lockerbie?
Yes.
Board President Hammond?
Yes.
Motion carries 4-0.
Number 3, Mrs. Wu. Ms. Wu.
Thank you, Board President Mr. Hammond, Board of Education, Superintendent Dr. Torosian, Cameron, and the committee members. And tonight, the Business Service Department, according to Ed Code, we request the Board of Education to approve the district's second interim report with the positive certifications. The governor released the preliminary budget back to January 10th, and last month, the Business Service Department presented the board for the estimate revenue projection for the next school years, and we updated our revenue projection accordingly. Here is assumption for the revenue projection, the difference between the first interim report and second interim report. And the first interim report is the last district official report approved the board in December. So there's a quota and changes as a result of the governor preliminary budget for the next 2 years, which means that it's dropped for next year from 3% to 2.29, and the further year, which is third year, dropped from 2.81 to 2.8 to 2.71. So which means that we will receive less funding from state based on the cost of living adjustment. We also look at our projection for the enrollment. Although we have a good result for this year, our decline is compared with the past history is less, but we still be conservative. So next year at the second interim, instead of the decline 24, we be conservative. We project decline 46 students. Because of that, our attendance projection will be adjusted accordingly, because attendance in adjustment is based on the percentage of our enrollment. Because of the adjustment at the end of this second interim report, 1920 current school year and the 2021 our revenue still on track, but the 21-22 combination of decline enrollment versus the reduce of the quota result a decrease of the revenues. Something this probably did not work well. Let me adjust a little bit. The pie looks like it twists a little bit. Basically, this is a pie should identify the budget allocation for the district operation, and as a second interim report, 83.5% our budget is for the personnel, which is the certificate classified employee and the related compensation, health benefit, and the pension plan. So 2.8% is the books and supplies, and 12.5% is our operation cost, including the utilities and the consulting service and the maintenance of our facility. And the 0.5% is pay for our certificate of participation, the responsibilities. We also presented the revised multi-year projection based on the assumption changes. And as you can tell that this matrix indicate that current and next 3 years, the district still in the deficit spending, which means that our expenditure is higher than the money we bring in from the state and the various other resources. And as a result that, each of year, our ending fund balance will decrease. Why our revenues decrease, we also look at our expenditure. We reduce our expenditure also accordingly. So the detailed expenditure adjustment and the revenue list here. For the expenditure side, we look at our estimate cost for the textbook adoption. We are on schedule to adopt social science textbooks for next year and science books the year after. So look at the when we close to adoption, we look at the estimate, and we were able to saving around $200,000. So we adjust that budget accordingly. And we also look at the funding source for the district various administrator. And then we were able to move their funding source out of general fund to the other fund. So that also resolved the saving. As board recall that during this summer, we replaced the air condition at the 2 school sites, which is Plymouth and Clifton. So as a result of those new units and the combination of the weather, so district-wide electricity cost is lower compared with projection. Also, there is the we phase out the induction program, so which also resolved saving for the next 2 years. So next step is after tonight board's approval, we will submit the positive certification to the county tomorrow. And we also continue our negotiation process with our MTA and the CSA. And we're going to update our projection and starting the development of next year's budget for the board, and go through the public hearing, the first board meeting in June, and then officially adopt the next budget for the second board meeting in June. Any question from the second interim report?
Any questions of Connie?
Could you go to your first slide, please, Connie? The first and second interim assumptions.
Yeah.
That one.
Yeah.
I just wanted to clarify for anybody who doesn't understand. First of all, COLA is cost of living.
Yes.
So for for 2020 and 2021, 2020, 2021, 21, 22, we are making an assumption based on information for what the cost of living is going to be, right?
This is actually guideline.
The cost of living.
Yes, it's a guideline from the state.
Right, from the state guideline. So for our for the first interim, we made an assumption based on the state guidelines, and that changed.
That's correct.
So for this second interim, which we have now in front of us, now the COLA has changed.
That's correct.
For the projection based on the information that you've received from the state.
That's right.
So that's why those numbers right there for the future projections are different, and they're lower.
That's right.
And can they change again?
Possibly, because when the governor releases May revision, there's a possibility will be changes, and that possibility, their possibility will be high because of what's going on with the statewide or nationwide economy based on this coronavirus.
I'm going to try to explain it really easy. It's like you went and got a job and they offered to pay you a certain amount of money for the job. Then about 3 months after they hired you, they said, well, things didn't go quite the way we thought it was. You can still have a job, but we're going to pay you a little bit less. And then you move it along about another 3 months and they come back and go, you still have a job, but we're going to have to pay you a little bit less because things haven't been the way we thought they were going to be when we first hired you. And then yet one more time come May, 9 months into the document, it can change again. And at any time it can go up a little bit, it can go down. But as you can see, if you can just make it real easy to understand, this is how come we have to have second interim reports, because the document that we pass, we're required by law to have a balanced budget on July the 1st. What we pass on July the 1, or I'm sorry, on June 30th, changes throughout the entire year. And if you can see the frustration in this, what it really means is that our employees are affected by how much money that we have come in. And so that's why we constantly have to keep going and upgrading and looking at this. It is critically important so that we stay solvent. And that's the whole purpose of this. And I wanted to, Brian loaned me his. There's a book that comes out. This is the second one that we go through once. This happens 3 times a year to us, that we read a book that's about 2.5 inches thick of graphs. And I don't want to tell you that reading a book of numbers is, it's not thrilling. In fact, it's probably good for insomnia. But it is, I'm sorry about that, David. I know that it's riveting, I'm sure, for you. But it is critically important to the success, the financial health of this organization, that this is done repeatedly to make sure that we keep ourselves on solid financial footing. And that's why we keep adjusting it. And I wanted to just make it kind of simple. We're not going to ask a whole lot of questions about very large numbers of $54 million, is because we do this all the time. This is a document that is alive for us all year round. I just wanted to make that comment.
So I just wanted to add a little to Rob's analogy. The problem is this is a job that we don't get to quit or strike on or transfer, so we get what we get. But one of the few things that I appreciate that the state requires us to do are these interim reports. So we do a budget at the beginning of the year, and then we do 3 more basically checks as we're going along. So it makes us stay constant. So it helps us budget. It helps us know where we can spend our money. It helps our staff understand where our money is going. I think it is helpful for absolutely everybody for us to be as transparent as possible at all times. And I think this is a helpful tool for everybody to see why we have to make changes on the fly and why things change as we go. So if you take a look at this, now there's one other unique thing about our budgets. We don't budget just for 1 year. We have to budget for 3 years. And so the numbers that we're given 2 years, 3 years out, as you can imagine, some of them you would think could be wild assumptions. But the reality is we're given the numbers that we have to use. So even if we don't think that those numbers are right, we're mandated to use them for the budgeting purposes, which creates some confusion when we're looking at this. But in this particular case, where we're at today is a fairly unique situation. And that is, if you believe that today's situations, whether it's the economy, whether it's the price of oil, whether it's the cost of dealing with the COVID-19, other health issues, if you think any of those things are going to affect the amount of money that the state is going to have, then you have to make that same assumption that it's going to affect the schools. So if the state has less money, the chances are good that the amount of money that we're getting, the cost of living, that they're going to give to us to pay for our staff and their hard work is also going to change. So we are constantly trying to find a balancing point to make everything work without overextending. There's a number of districts that do a horrible job at this. But since I can't really talk about it here, I just want to make sure that people understand that these numbers absolutely will change again. Absolutely will change again. The reason that the board is not talking about all the specific items and the line items and so forth is with each interim report, really what we're doing is we're adjusting what our original budget was. So we have long conversations on where and what we're going to budget our funds for, and we adjust it accordingly as new information is coming in. So if the information isn't affecting any of our particular programs, we don't cover it again. But as we get to the final numbers, it may be a fact in which so many categories change that we do have to make some big changes. But this is an important issue, and I don't want the brevity of this particular conversation let people think that we're not on top of this or that we're not watching this very, very closely.
I also wanted to add that the first interim is on our website, correct?
I think so, David. Yeah.
And if the second interim is approved, the second interim will be on our website.
That's correct.
So for transparency for the public can enjoy this reading as well. So they can look at everything that's in this book?
Yes, and if they have questions, they can call my office, either me or David.
Okay.
Thank you.
And your contact information is on our website as well, right?
That's right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Entertain a motion.
Move to approve.
I'll second.
Motion is second. Is there any further discussion? Let me please have a vote.
Board Member Wong?
Yes.
Board Member Lockerbie?
Yes.
Board Member Travanti?
Yes.
Board President Hammond?
Yes.
Motion carries 4-0.
Dr. Jackson, approval of an interagency agreement.
Yes, Board President Hammond, members of the board, Dr. Terosian, community members, this agenda item before you reflects an interagency agreement between the Los Angeles County Department of Children and Family Services, the Los Angeles County of Workforce Development, Aging and Community Services, the Los Angeles County Office of Education, and the undersigned Los Angeles school districts and their affiliated charter schools for a long-term transportation plan to ensure school stability for foster care youth that we serve. Therefore, the Board of Education is requested to ratify this interagency agreement plan to ensure school stability for foster care youth as required by law. This agreement specifies that the Department of Child and Family Services, along with school districts of origin, shall split transportation costs evenly, 50% each. As it reflects the budget implications for the 19-20 school year, the projected cost to the district is approximately $7,800. In the previous 2 years, in 17-18 and 18-19, we worked in partnership with these particular agencies, and they endeavored the 100% of the cost. However, due to budget reductions, this has facilitated entering into this agreement and splitting the costs. The name of the company that we've been utilizing for the previous years is Hop, Skip, and Drive. And again, we've been using them for the past 3 years.
Any questions of Darwin?
So we have always been facilitating transportation for our foster youth in our district. What has changed is who pays the bill.
Yes.
Any other questions? Entertain a motion.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? May we please have a vote?
Board Member Lockerbie?
Yes.
Board Member Travanti?
Yes.
Board Member Wong?
Yes.
Board President Hammond?
Yes.
Motion carries 4-0.
Mr. Papakin, award a contract for AMS.net.
AMS.net. Okay. Good evening, President Hammond, board members, district staff, members of the community. The district would like the Board of Education to approve an award of contract with AMS.net to upgrade our network infrastructure contingent upon E-rate approval and up to the amount E-rate approves. A few months ago, E-rate released one-time funding for the upcoming school year. This funding is use it or lose it funding. The district released an RFP for network switches and a couple of wireless devices. AMS submitted the lowest qualified proposal in the amount of $307,303.08. The district would like to use this to apply for E-rate with the estimation that E-rate would approve approximately $175,000, of which the district would only have to pay $35,000 for the project. Depending on what the approval amount is, the district would scale down the project to get the most amount of equipment that we can and get the most discount that we can from E-rate with this one-time funding.
Question to Charles. Entertain a motion.
Move to approve.
Second?
Motion and a second. Is there any discussion? May we please have a vote?
Board Member Travanti?
Yes.
Board Member Lockerbie?
Yes.
Board Member Wong?
Yes.
Board President Hammond?
Yes.
Motion carries 4-0.
And Charles, are you doing the Crown Castle?
Yes. The Board of Education is requested to approve an award of contract with Crown Castle Fiber to provide internet connectivity and become our internet service provider. This year, we issued an RFP soliciting proposal for internet services. The district received 4 proposals and would like to award to Crown Castle for 3 gigabits of bandwidth on a 3-year contract. There's actually is a typo in the board agenda item. The pricing that was put in there, and I apologize for this, was actually 2 gig pricing. The actual pricing for 3 gigabits is actually $28,800 annually for 3 years, effective July 1st, 2020. The district anticipates that E-rate would cover about 80% of this, which would be $23,040. The technology services budget would fund the balance of the cost, which would come out to approximately $5,760 annually.
Who were we previously using?
Previously, we were using FATP, also known as the Foothill Educational Technology Partnership.
Did they put a bid in for this?
They did not put in a bid in for this.
Don't we house, or did we house some of their equipment?
Yes, we do. They currently leased out a portion of the Canyon Oaks High School data center. It is to my understanding that they will eventually move out. I'm not sure when, but they are planning to move out and no longer rent our facility.
But we're still under contract while they're there.
Yes, I believe so. I believe it's month to month.
Yes. Okay. There's a question in here. Here it is. Okay, on the RFP, request for proposal, sorry. We had 4 responsible bidders.
That's correct.
What was the high and what was the low?
Oh boy. So the low I believe was $2,400 a month. The high I believe was in the 3,000 range for 3 gigabytes. I can give that in the board update.
Okay, the reason I'm asking is because with the correction of the speed of which we were talking here on the typo, in the RFP, did the RFP stipulate the speed that they were bidding the job on?
Yes, it did. We actually solicited for various pricing, the 2 gigabits, 3 gigabits, 5 gigabits, and 10 gigabits. Okay. And based on that, we went through a process to figure out which would be the best dollar for our value. Because I hear that some districts, they got 10 gigabit pricing for $100 more per month. And I'm thinking, if it's only going to be $100 more per month, I might as well go 10 gigabits. But in this case, the 10 gigabit came in at about $54,000. And there was no way I'll be able to justify 10 gigabits had we been audited. I feel very comfortable awarding at the 3 gigabit for 3 years. And then at the end of 3 years, we can reassess and figure out at what point, how much more we have to increase at that time.
Which leads me to the second question, which is the amount of the speed of which we're looking at to award. Is it adequate for our needs today? And for what we think the foreseeable future would look like?
I believe so. Right now, we're using 1 gigabit. We are averaging 0.6. And we have mini spikes in 0.8, and sometimes we do spike up to the full 1. Those are usually the kids that are running a speed test on our network. So I feel very comfortable with the 3 gigabits. I feel that at the end of the 3 years, we'll probably be at the high 1s, potentially low 2s.
Okay, thank you. Any other question? Oh.
This becomes really important, especially during the testing time when you have multiple schools that are online and doing the CASP testing. Hasn't that been an issue in the past? And hopefully this will resolve it going forward?
This will resolve it going forward. In the past, like last year, we were about 0.4, and then we were peaking around 0.6. Now we're averaging about 0.6. I anticipate we're going to peak around 0.8 during testing. The difference between the 0.2 is because Santa Fe went 1-to-1.
Right.
So now I'm seeing the difference. And actually testing uses up less bandwidth because there's not a lot of video. You see the increase because you still have, for example, a few folks listening to radio while they're working, things like that.
Okay, thank you.
How is the transition going to be? I see that it looks like if we were to agree on this, it would start on July 1st, so we're out of school at that time. How do you foresee the transition?
So right now, that is still in the work with the company. As it is right now, I'm looking to potentially have Thursday be a half day because Friday is the July 3rd. That's a holiday. And basically, it'd be me and Alan working with the company, basically 12 p.m. until it's done. And if need be, we'll work on July 3rd, but hopefully not. So we're looking to transition, do a cutover on July 2nd to July 3rd.
So you're looking at hopefully a smooth transition.
Hopefully. Yeah, we're definitely gonna have to do a lot of planning. It's obviously this type of transition is one that does take a lot of work. And one of the things that we will be doing is we're no longer going to be making Canyon Oaks the hub of the internet. Since all the schools come here, it doesn't make sense to make another hop to Canyon Oaks to go to the internet. So one of the things that we will be doing is moving the connection to the district office, which means we're going to be moving our firewall and a web filter from Canyon Oaks to here. So it is a little bit more labor intensive than a typical cutover.
So the transition does have some intensity to it.
Yes. So hopefully with good planning, I'll only have to work one full day and then some after hours.
Now, if you don't know the answer to this question, you can update us later, and I will appreciate that. If we're moving this to the district office, if this is to be approved, does this have an air conditioning issue? Does it need to be air conditioned? And is that something that you took into account when we dealt with the air conditioning a while ago? Yes.
That's correct. And by the time we do the cutover, we will have new upgraded air conditioning, and we'll also have an exhaust fan as a backup. So we are planning to beef up the cooling of the district office shortly.
Okay, thank you.
And Charles, just because I always ask this question, you have checked this company thoroughly and you feel comfortable that they are going to be a vendor that we are going to be satisfied with?
Yes, that's correct. They are actually our current provider for all our circuits coming into the district office. So all our school sites coming into the district office is currently Crown Castle. And the only issues I had with them were at Santa Fe when it went down because unforeseen circumstances, a rodent chewed the lines. And at Plymouth, same thing. Rodent chewed the line right outside on the poles, and they've been fairly responsive in fixing those lines.
When you're talking about the circuits coming into the schools, are you talking about something physical, a physical circuit?
Yes, all the schools come to the district office via fiber optic, and that is provided by Crown Castle currently.
That's underground.
Underground and on the poles. It's a mixture.
Thank you. Any other questions? Entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. Is there any more discussion? May we please have a vote?
Board Member Wong?
Yes.
Board Member Lockerbie?
Yes.
Board Member Travanti?
Yes.
Board President Hammond?
Yes.
Motion carries 4-0.
Board business, Dr. Tarosian.
Thank you, President Hammond, members of the board. As we were preparing our response to the pandemic, we went through our board policy and accompanying regulation, administrative regulation, and realized that it was time to update it. Now, while it does not have any specific information about what to do next, it does provide general guidance, and there are some pieces in it that are new. For example, the administrative regulation originally did not include floods. We are now including floods, and we'll be prepared for that theoretically. We're learning that even our best laid plans for disasters don't always come through, and we are constantly working together and receiving guidance in order to make the very best decisions we can. So the recommendations presented before you are those provided by the California School Boards Association and do take into consideration some of the language we had not necessarily considered in the first round in 2007. And so this is just the first reading, and unless there are any changes, we can bring it back.
The only comment that I have is, I mean, all of our procedures are living documents and change on the fly as they need to. I would just ask that I am sure that we are going to get further direction from the CDC and County Health Department on how to best deal with pandemics. If we can make sure that we include any pertinent language that comes out from those national, state, or county recommendations.
Absolutely. I look forward to reading those.
Dr. Tarosian, humor me. Well, we recently had an incident at Mayflower where we had an uninvited guest on the field, and that's something that our beautiful community does have to deal with occasionally. And I was wondering if we want to insert wildlife or bears into this document, just because it does cause, especially the timing of that particular one, when staff was already arriving and the students were due to arrive shortly, and we had to deal with that situation. So that may be unique to Monrovia, but I think it's worth mentioning.
That should be incorporated. One of the reasons I am proposing these changes is because it's nice to have all of those scenarios listed in order to consider them as we develop our safety plans. So while I'm sure Mayflower in its safety plan has bears, because they've dealt with them before. As the district, we should also incorporate that, and I'll include that as a change.
Yeah, and in the past, when my daughter was at Brad Oaks, they also had to deal with a bear on that campus. So, yeah, thank you.
We don't have to take an action on that. No, thank you. Where am I? Oh, board discussion to designate 2 representatives to Facilities Advisory Committee. The last board meeting 2 weeks ago, we put on the agenda for this meeting that each board member would put the names of 2 community members forward to be on the Facilities Advisory Committee. We're not going to name names here. If folks will just submit your names to Kathy, that those folks that have been put forward will be up on our website. And because Ed's folks aren't going to be here tonight, so we'll just wait for Ed to come back on doing that. And everybody would just get your names to Kathy. The one thing that we do want to do is designate 2 board members to be on that. I would like to put Ed's name forward, and the reason being is Ed spent 40 years working on facilities for the U.S. Forestry Service, doing nothing but building facilities, and his background is critical for this. And so I'd like to put Ed's name forward, and then I'll put that in the form of a motion. I'll move Ed. We're going to have 2, but I'm going to do one with
Second.
Okay. All in favor of Ed being on the FAC? Say aye.
Does he know this?
No, that's why he's not here. You sick him on.
If he wants to lodge an objection, he can do so now.
Yeah. Seeing and hearing no one. So all those in favor of Ed say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ed's on. And I'll keep on this. I think Brian, who has gone through this process before with schools, would probably be a good person to be on there as well. I have gone through bonds, but I've never gone through a bond, or I'm sorry, ahead of myself. I have never gone through the process to get to even remotely looking at the bond. Brian has gone through this process before. And so I think he would serve us well, giving us information back. So I'll put Brian's name in as a form of a motion as well.
Second.
Any discussion on that? Then all in favor of Brian, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
And those
Sorry,
opposed?
I was late.
Brian, you want to do that now?
Aye.
Okay. Then Brian and Ed are the board folks there. And while you're here, I would thank Ed too. It's going to be a lot of meetings between now and the time we get the information back as a board. Thank you very much for your commitment.
And then how are we going to, it will be on our website, who the committee consists of?
Right. There's also going to be folks from the MTA, the CTA, not CSA, and it's the PTA. So there's still 3 other people to be put on.
Lots of letters.
And administrators. And if there'll be 1 from each. And if everybody just give Kathy the names of the folks that you'd want, we'll have them out there. Okay? So we've done what we needed to do there. Resolution of intent to comply with California Voting Rights Act. Dr. Terosian.
Thank you, President Hammond, members of the board. This Board of Education is requested to approve resolution number 1920-13 in order to comply with the CVRA.
Any questions of Dr. Terosian? May have a motion, please.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. Is there any discussion? May we please have a vote?
Board Member Lockerbie?
Yes.
Board Member Travanti?
Yes.
Board Member Wong?
Yes.
Board President Hammond?
Yes.
Motion carries 4-0.
It's the Dr. Terosian, the proposed board meeting schedule.
The Board of Education is requested to review and approve the schedule for the Board of Education meetings for the 2020 and 2021 school year.
Any questions? Entertain a motion.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion is second. Any discussion? May we please have a vote?
Board Member Travanti?
Yes.
Board Member Wong?
Yes.
Board Member Lockerbie?
Yes.
Board President Hammond?
Yes.
Motion carries 4-0.
And a resolution proclaiming April the 1st as National Census Day. Dr. Shorosian. Or, I was just going to say, we've already heard the whole thing.
We've heard a presentation from the city, and this resolution is actually a reflection of the city's resolution in order to support the city in its efforts to identify April 1st as National Census Day. The board is requested to approve this resolution. In addition, Dr. Kaiser, in addition to the coronavirus information and the remote learning opportunities, is developing and identifying some resources for teachers so that our students are well educated about the census and its importance.
Thank you. Entertain a motion.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion second. Any more discussion? Maybe please have a vote.
Board Member Wong?
Yes.
Board Member Lockerbie?
Yes.
Board Member Travanti?
Yes.
Board President Hammond?
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0.
Dr. Terosian, pending board issues.
I've learned today that we may have to make a change with a boardwalk.
Ooh, Shoshana, I'm so sorry.
Ooh.
It was me.
Oh, no.
I'm so sorry. April 27th at Monrovia High School.
Oh.
I have a conflict I cannot avoid. More information to come about that one.
Should we take that off our calendars now?
Yes, there's no way I can avoid this one. And my sincerest apologies, not just to your calendars, but to Ms. Huff, who has been extraordinarily patient in identifying these dates. Sorry.
Okay. Me too. Man, I just felt like I got called to the principal's office. Had that been me? Wow. Anything else, Kathy? That was it? That's enough?
I do want to address, Board Member Gillen had brought it up, and I'd been working with Board Member Celine Lockerbie about the access to schools. We've developed a grid, but we'll have that discussion when everybody is here.
Okay. Going on to old business.
Well, it's not really old business, but it's kind of a PSA, if you will. As families are beginning to think about summer and their plans, vacation, because coronavirus will go away eventually and life will go back to normal. August 19th is the first day of school for the new school year. So I just want to make sure that gets out there with all the parents as you're planning your summers. Thank you.
Our next regularly scheduled meeting will be here at the district office on March the 25th at 7 p.m. Again on April the 8th at 7 p.m. We have boardwalk scheduled on April the 10th, April the 20th at Mayflower and Brad Oaks. We have open houses, and just so you'll know, I'm not going to go through rattling the dates. Please check our website to check on the current status of open houses. It is subject to change. There are also parent-teacher conferences. They may change. The way in which it's done may change. So I can only tell you this. Consult often with our website. We will keep the information coming as it pertains to the things that are going on in our district. This evening is with a heavy heart. I'm sorry, did I miss something?
I just wanted to bring up a new business.
Oh, I'm sorry, Brian.
If we can, on our next agenda, or perhaps the one after that, go over how we're going to deal with some of the financial aspects of the virus and how the state is going to deal with the ADA issues and any other supplemental fundings, and perhaps even have another open item, because I'm sure in the next 2 weeks there will be some additional changes And I would just like to have a spot where we can have any discussions if necessary.
You know, you bring up a very good point. Perhaps we should reach out to Senator Portantino and see if he would carry a piece of emergency legislation through, because this is not an item that is only affecting Monrovia. This truly is a state issue. And we can reach out to him in the next couple days about him carrying an emergency resolution through the state that might help us out tremendously. And again, it's with a heavy heart that we said goodbye to a very important person who served this district well for many, many years. And this statement came from Principal Kirk McInnes at MHS. And we're talking about Derek Durden, who lost his battle with prostate cancer. Derek worked as one of our campus supervisors at MHS for 19 years. Derek was larger than life and filled our hallways with his voice of caring and compassion. He took the time to listen to kids, listen to their stories, learn about their struggles, and seemed to always have his finger on the pulse of what was going on. It was these skills that made him effective at his job and loved by generations of Wildcats. Derek passed away on March 4th at home, surrounded by his family. And our thoughts and prayers are with his family this night. And if there's no further business before this body, we'll stand adjourned.